A monthly meeting of the Monument Planning Commission to order. Today's date, March 11, 2026. Thanks to everyone for attending tonight's meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to state that the Planning Commission meetings are open to the public in person and via a Microsoft Teams streaming application. All Planning Commission meeting information can be found on the Town of Monument website. The Planning Commission's role is to conduct public hearings and to make recommendations for the Town Council regarding land use matters in the Town of Monument. Each commissioner agrees to a non-partial, objective, and fair review, which includes no prejudgment of the projects. Should a commissioner wish to disqualify him or herself for any conflicts of personal or financial interest in this matter before us tonight, please say so now. For those attending tonight who wish to provide comment on agenda items, you may speak to the commission during the public comment section of the agenda. Those who attend in person will be called upon first and are asked to come to the podium and sign in with your name and address. Those attending via Microsoft Teams will be called upon next and are asked to utilize the raise your hand option and unmute your microphone when called upon. We ask that if multiple people have the same comment, only one person speak on that same subject. Again, thanks for attending. We'll now begin with the roll call.
Thank you. Chair Egley.
Here.
Vice Chair Peterson, not here. Commissioner Baumer, not here. Commissioner Hatch. Commissioner Parr.
Here.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes roll call.
Thank you, Ray. We have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting of the Monument Planning Commission. I'd go ahead and move to approve the minutes from the February 11 Planning Commission meeting. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Ray, can you take roll, please?
Yes, thank you. Chair Egley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Commissioner Parr.
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4 in favor.
Thank you, Ray. All right. The first item on the agenda tonight is a request for the approval of the final plat, final plan unit development plan for the Alpine dealership at Falcon Commerce Center. Jenna Gorney, our senior planner, will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good evening. Jenna Gorney, senior planner. Before we get into the two public hearings this evening, I did want to just touch on your staff reports that you received in your packets. If you'll notice, they are formatted just a little bit differently. As I understand, there has been a little bit of feedback that was received during your recent workshop that included a desire for some more detail in that staff report to guide you to make better recommendations for each application. So with that, both Ray and I have focused a little heavy on the review criteria for each application and each application type. During our presentation, we're not going to detail throughout each of those criteria, but there's all those details in your staff report. We're going to hit on the high level items during the presentation. If you do have any questions on those review criteria, please feel free to let us know after each item. Thank you. So as mentioned, this evening, our applicant, Weesane, is seeking approval of the final plat and the final PUD plan for the Alpine dealership at Falcon Commerce Center. And the 12.5 acre subject area is zoned planned unit development, PUD, and is located just south of the Pilot gas station near the southeast corner of Terrazzo Drive and West Baptist Road, located in phase 2 of the Falcon Commerce Center plan development. The proposed development is consistent with the permitted uses outlined in the approved preliminary PUD, for which allow a commercial development of automotive sales, service, and repair. Each application request will be considered separately based on those review criteria I described and forwarded to Town Council with consideration and recommendation from the Planning Commission this evening. Pursuant to Chapter 18, the Land Development Code, Section 18.01 260D, public notice was conducted at least 15 days prior to the public hearing by mail and by property posting, and mail notices also went out to property owners within 500 feet of the subject lot. You'll see in your staff report there were several attachments included. They include a variety of maps, public hearing notice that you noticed on the last slide, the original preliminary PUD phase 1, the preliminary PUD for phase 2, as well as our discussion items for this evening, the final plat and the final PUD plan. Additionally included was the applicant narrative and followed as well by the town engineer letter of recommendation for approval. As mentioned in the introduction, the applicant is requesting approval, and in this slide, approval of the final plan and final PUD. In this slide, we just kind of wanted to provide you with a little bit of aerial location so you can see where that's located at the corner of Baptist and Terrazzo Drive. And again, that subject area is the 12.5 acres of the northern 12.5 acres of Area B in Phase 2. The slide shows the surrounding zoning, PUD to the north, south, and west. The property is bound, of course, by the CDOT corridor I-25 on the east. And additionally, for note, the property just to the north was built out as the pilot travel center during filing 1 of the Falcon Commerce Center Phase 2. The subject area for the current application, again, is the 12.5 acres of Area B. You'll see there at the top of the slide. The preliminary PUD plan for the whole of Phase 2 that's pictured on the slide was organized in 4 distinct areas that you can see here. Areas B, C, D, and F. Area F, situated between areas C and D, is roughly 33 acres of open space. It encompasses the Jackson Creek floodplain and an additional 1.75 acres of open space and amenity area east of Area D. Each of the development areas B, C, and D were all established to allow civic and institutional uses, providing flexibility for public and community serving facilities throughout Phase 2. Excuse me. Beyond these 2 common uses, each area includes additional permitted uses tailored to its intended function within the broader development framework. Area B, which is the location of the subject property and request, is a mix of commercial, medical, and office uses supporting employment generating and service-oriented activities. Area C expands those common uses of civic and institutional by also allowing medical and office uses and industrial and warehouse distribution uses, creating opportunities for a broad range of business and operational activities. Area D permits the base of civil and institutional uses as well, and also permits industrial and warehouse distribution uses, while also allowing a residential component. Together, these areas within Phase 2 establish a development pattern that integrates open space preservation with civic, employment, and residential opportunities. Each of the parcels within Falcon Commerce Center development is required to get final PUD approval per Section 18.03.460 prior to the issuance of a land development permit. The final plat for the Alpine dealership shown here first proposes to subdivide those northern 12.5 acres within Area B of Phase 2. The final PUD then proposes to develop that 12.5 acre final plat area into an automotive sales, service, and repair facility. The proposed development includes 3 buildings to be built in 2 phases. The 65,096 square foot single story building A, proposed on the west side of the property, along with a centrally located roughly 7,000 square foot vehicle wash facility and the trash enclosure, is intended to be built out in Phase 1. Phase 2 will consist of a second single story building consisting of 39,000 square feet planned for the east side of the site. The proposed development is consistent with permitted uses outlined in the approved preliminary PUD, which allows for commercial development. As proposed, the development will include a total of 112,101 square feet of single-story structures, associated parking, vehicle display area, landscaping, grading, and drainage. As described and depicted in the final PUD documents, the development permits a maximum building height of 70 feet. However, the applicant is proposing a maximum height of 25 feet. Similarly, while the approved preliminary PUD would allow for up to 40% lot coverage, the applicant's proposal reflects a reduced coverage of 20%. The architecture of the buildings includes complementary colors, and a mix of materials such as metal paneling, low-level stone accents, clear glazed glass doors, and windows enhanced by vertical vegetated green walls. The final PUD reflects that minimum building setbacks from Terrazzo Drive are 20 feet on the west side, and minimum setbacks from I-25 on the east are to be 50 feet. The final PUD plan defines a minimum setback of 10 feet for internal setbacks on the north and south lines. As proposed, the buildings are set back a minimum of 65 feet from the north lot line and 90 from the south. Minimum setbacks for landscaping include 20 feet from Terrazzo Drive on the west and 25 feet from the I-25 corridor on the east. Landscaping on both the northern and southern boundaries includes the installation of a retaining wall along the property line. Rock mulch will be integrated on the north line, while river rock and shrubs will be installed along the south line, interior to the retaining wall, and such wall shall not exceed 12 feet in height. Landscaping on the east property line fronting I-25 corridor is comprised of a buffer planting of native seed mix combined with edge trees and shrub plantings intended to screen roughly 2/3 of the vehicle parking area, while leaving, you'll see in the southeastern corner, leaving that landscaping low and open in the front for the vehicle display area. Landscaping within the site includes foundational plantings on Building A facing Terrazzo Drive to complement the hardy street frontage landscaping, as well as landscape parking lot islands integrated with lighting and a large array of trees and shrubs. Parking on the overall development includes 679 spaces, 254 of which will be utilized for vehicle display. This allocation meets the required parking needed for the development, which is 425. And an additional vehicle area for display is located again in that southeastern corner of the lot facing I-25. To avoid that this ancillary vehicle display area isn't overutilized, there has been discussion and staff is providing a possible condition at the end of the report with a motion that could limit the number of vehicles permitted to be displayed in this area. An additional condition listed there in your proposed motion is requiring that any of the vehicles parked in that ancillary southeastern vehicle display area shall be parked on an approved surface that would consist of durable, dust-free, all-weather surfacing such as concrete, asphalt, or some similar approved materials. The applicant has provided a traffic generation analysis for the project. It was dated July 21st of 2025. Based on the conclusions presented in that analysis, the projected site-generated traffic associated with the proposed conceptual plan isn't anticipated to adversely affect traffic operations on the surrounding roadway network. That would include the intersection of Terrazzo and Baptist Road. The analysis concluded the proposed development remains consistent with the initial assumptions of the previously approved Falcon Commerce Center traffic impact study. So accordingly, the conclusions or recommendations contained within that previously approved traffic study would remain applicable and valid today. Stormwater management. The applicant has provided a drainage report for the project. The report, prepared by Kiowa Engineering, dated December 22nd of 2025, concludes that the stormwater drainage improvements have been prepared in accordance with Town of Monument standards and Colorado Springs Drainage Criteria Manual. Overall, the report concludes that the proposed stormwater management design has been engineered and designed to properly convey and treat the stormwater based on the requirements and guidance of those aforementioned plans. The subject property is designated commercial center, as you'll see on your comprehensive plan map there on the east side, and light industrial on the west. That town comprehensive plan, of course, was adopted in 2017. An automotive sales and service department is consistent with the intent of the commercial centers designation as well as the light industrial designation. So providing goods and services to the area residents and the traveling public, the vehicles-oriented use is appropriately located near a major intersection as intended by the plan. The high-quality landscaping, together with the mixed materials and visual articulation of the structure, it minimizes the visual impact of that building and provides some interest and variation over the large walls of that kind of structure. Additionally, an automotive sales and service department aligns with the intent of the light industrial designations as well, particularly with respect to the sales and repair component of that, which are similar in character to contractors, trades, and small-scale businesses called for in these designations. Together, the 2017 comprehensive plan and the approved uses for the preliminary PUD identify this area for such uses as a proposed auto sales and services development. So as I mentioned in our intro today, review and recommendation of each application, the final plat and the final PUD, are based on review criteria set forth in the Land Development Code for each application. Final plats are reviewed pursuant to section 1802-260 C1 through 10. And the final PUD is reviewed and recommended based on criteria of Zoning Development Code section 1803-460D 1 through 9, I believe. So staff, as I mentioned, has provided a detailed evaluation of each of those review criteria against the material that was provided. And has provided some suggested recommendations and motions for both of the applications. And Mr. Chairman, I will leave those recommendations in your hands. And at this point, if you have any questions for me, I can address those for you. And I believe we have the applicant, Brooks Swenson, here for NES to present as well.
All right, thank you, Jenna.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll invite the applicant to come on up and share their presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brooks Swenson. I'm with NES. We're the Planning and Landscape Architecture Consultant on the project. Let's get this, make sure this works for me. Yeah, make it work, then. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Just wanted to quickly introduce our team. We have with us tonight Waleed El-Khoury with Westnai, who's the architect and owner's rep. Also, our civil engineer on the project is Kiowa Engineering, and we have Jake McMillan here with Kiowa. So if there are any technical civil engineering questions, I'll go hide and let him come up here to answer those. And then the traffic consultant on the project, or the traffic engineer, was SM Rocha. We also have with us Randall Shutter from Alpine to answer any questions more about the business and the operations of the Alpine dealership. And I believe we also have Tom Blunk joining online. So he has more of the history. He's with Falcon Commerce Center, so he can provide any answer questions about history of the larger Falcon Commerce development. Wow, Jenna did a great presentation and really gave a lot of context. So I think that makes my first part of my presentation pretty repetitive to what she said. But just to kind of provide some additional context, here's a larger area showing the Falcon Commerce Center. Zooming in a bit, this in red shows the Alpine site in context with the larger Falcon Commerce Center development. I'm not going to read all of this, but this is a timeline of the approvals and entitlements for Falcon Commerce Center dating back to 2020 when the original sketch plan and zoning was approved. And then a list here of all of the various preliminary PD site plans and final PUD plans for the different developments. And I will go into a couple of those in more detail. So this is the approved PD sketch plan from 2020. The subject area is Area B. And at this point, that area was approved for civic, commercial, industrial, institutional, medical office, and then that changed when it went to the phase 2 preliminary PUD plan. So the applicant worked closely with the town and with the Save the Monument group, and which resulted in some changes to the phase 2 preliminary plan. I just wanted to highlight a couple of those that pertain to this area. The industrial use was removed from Area B. So that's the area shown in blue here where the Alpine site is. And the height was reduced from 100 feet to 70 feet. So the approved preliminary PUD plan that's shown here was deemed to comply with the town's comprehensive plan and is now the governing planning document for Falcon Commerce Center. As there's kind of a long history of entitlements, there's also a lot of infrastructure that's been put in to date, totaling close to 23.5 million for all these improvements. And my next slide shows, this is a more recent aerial that shows a lot of what's been installed. So Terrazzo Drive's been extended down across the creek to a cul-de-sac. And then you can see some of the filing for spec industrial buildings that are now under construction. And then the site for Alpine is highlighted. So I think that's helpful to give a little bit of scale and context to the size of the Alpine lot versus some of those larger industrial buildings. All right, so now to get a little bit into the site plan. As Jenna mentioned, this will be a phased plan. So in the phase 1, the entire site will be graded and utilities put in for the full build out of the project. So the area in green shows the future phase 2 area where that building will go and some additional parking around that phase 2 building. The car wash will be installed in phase 1. 574 parking spaces will be built within phase 1, which is more than enough to meet the Building A requirements. There's 2 access points that will be constructed onto Terrazzo Drive. One of those 2 trash enclosures on the northern boundary will be constructed with this first phase. And then landscaping will be installed on the perimeter and any of the islands that are proposed with phase 1. See, and then that phase 2 area will be reseeded in the interim for until the future building is proposed or constructed. So this now shows the phase 2 building and the final build out with 679 parking spaces. That second trash enclosure is shown there. And I did also want to mention that a final PUD amendment will be required for the phase 2 building. None of that was shown in the PUD plan for this. So we show the footprint, but the amendment would then go and show the actual elevations and the floor plan and everything for that. But it would need to be stick to that square footage. One other thing I wanted to mention about the site layout, the little bump outs on these 2 buildings are the service bays. So those are more internal to the site, kind of keeping that hidden from the major roadways. And this is just a comparison chart. Jenna hit on a couple of these, but wanted to reiterate that this lot is approved for a 70-foot height building, and we're only at 25. And then the approved lot coverage is 40%, and we're only at 20% with the full build out of the project. And this is a rendering of the building. So this is the main entrance. This is kind of the south side of the building. A lot of nice glazing, that windows that wrap around that whole corner. And then you can see these are the service bays here to the right. So this is the side that's kind of internal to the site. This is the elevation of that southern and northern elevations of the building. So I think the rendering really makes it a lot easier to understand, but basically what you're looking at is just the southern view and then the northern view, and then the bottom two are just those little bump outs of the service bays. And then these are the views of the building from the east and west. So the one with the vegetated panels is the view from Terrazzo, and then the other view is what you would see from I-25. So both have some of that glazing that wraps around the corner, and a good variation of materials and articulation to the building to meet the Falcon Commerce design guidelines. Another thing I wanted to note is that the building proposes a lot more earth tones than some of the other buildings that are currently under constructed or constructed for Falcon Commerce. So they're complementary, but it's nice to see a little bit of that earth tone as well. So a photometric plan was included in the final PUD, and which showed that none of the light was spilling out into the adjacent properties. The fixtures are compliant with both the town and Falcon Commerce Center design guidelines. They're full cutoff fixture with no light emitted above the horizontal plane. And this project will also be dark sky compliant with adhering to the curfews for lighting as well. So I'm not going to read all of this, but we are meeting all of the review criteria that was set forth by the preliminary PUD. Those have all been met with this final PUD. And at this point, I'd like to bring Randall up, who will talk a little bit about the sales tax and more about the operations of the Alpine dealership.
Hello. I'm not really sure what I need to say here, other than the Alpine Group. We generated in the Littleton location, which we anticipate this location to be equivalent in the first 12 to 18 months of operation. We generated roughly $208 million in sales for new vehicles, used vehicles, parts and service. In the Littleton location, our labor and service is not taxable, but our parts are. And I believe this is a fairly conservative estimate for that first year of annual part sales. My other two locations were roughly in the $6 million range for part sales, with a 7% tax. 7% sales tax, we would be looking at, excuse me here. I believe it was roughly $481,000 worth of tax for the south location. $451,000 in tax would have been generated for our south location if we had the estimated sales. I don't know what else to present here. I would like to be glad to answer any questions that you may have about the Alpine Group. I can speak to anything from sales to the culture to our accomplishments.
All right. Well, thank you, Randall. We're going to open up comment from, since this is a public hearing, we'll open up some comment from the public first, and then we'll come to the commissioners, and
Okay.
we'll have some questions at that point in time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from staff?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so we will open it up for any public comment. First, we'll go to anyone in the room who would like to comment or ask questions on this project. Please come on up to the podium, identify yourself and sign in, please.
Where's the sign in? I'm Darlene Scow. I live in Mount Herman Road up by the trailhead, and we're investing in Front Street owners. So my question was, I saw on the slide that it was a 40% recommended coverage, but it seemed like with the asphalt and buildings, it was closer to 80%, and they said it was 20. So maybe I'm missing something on that.
Okay, we'll go ahead and Jenna, do you want to address that at this time?
I'll actually let Brooke speak to that in regards to your coverage.
Brooke Swenson. So that coverage is for the building coverage, not the impervious coverage.
Okay. All right.
I guess it's a lot of asphalt to me, and is that the hardscape, softscape that we're aiming for? And is that our vision of town and water management and flow and all that jazz?
All right. Thank you. Any additional comments from anyone inside the room at this point? All right, Ray, do we have anyone online that would like to make a comment?
I do not see any hands raised for the project, so no.
Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion and move on to questions and comments from the Planning Commission. Commissioner Trujillo.
I'm going to jump on that train. So a couple of questions coming right out. First thing, the traffic and access impacts. We're talking about Baptist Road congestion, Terrazzo Drive access, service vehicle circulation, and peak commuter overlap. The assessment that was done, was that just a snapshot in time, or are you looking at this for a 10 to 15 or 20-year gap associated with the traffic and the buildings that are continually going here in Monument? Can you answer that question? I can give you a few moments if you'd like and continue on. Yeah, no, you're perfectly fine. I'll just move on to the next question. I'll come back for that.
Excuse me, sorry, I believe Tom Blunk, who also represents the project, is raising his hand to speak to your point, so I'm
Sure,
gonna
please.
unmute him real quick.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Blunk, you should have the ability to unmute your mic and speak.
Thanks, Ray. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep.
Great. Yeah, to your question, the traffic study always takes into a 20-year build out, not just of our park, but the whole area. So development north of us, to the west of us, to the east of us. So it takes into all that development over 20 years as they do their analysis.
Perfect. Thank you. That's what I needed on the answer. I appreciate your time on that. Next question. Land use compatibility and economic efficiency. Large parcels like this, obviously, specifically along the I-25 corridor. there is the tax base consideration, but I guess my major question now lies with the large lot or large area that will be asphalted initially. How is the stormwater of that area? Where is it going to be running off to? Is there a retainment pond to the south? Is that waterway going to the east to the I-25 corridor? Or is it going to the west? And now we're running into another problem associated with the Air Force Academy and their watershed bottleneck. Can you answer those questions? Please.
Jake McMillan with Kiowa Engineering.
Yeah.
We did the civil design on the project.
Welcome.
So there's a regional detention pond for the entire Falcon Commerce Center to the south. That was constructed, I believe, as part of the first filing. So all the stormwater on this site is directed to underground stormwater that takes it south down Terrazzo and into that regional detention basin.
Do you know what that CF or how much water it can hold? Obviously, because the permeation of the concrete or the asphalt is a major runoff that's going to be tabled towards that stormwater retention pond.
Yes, so the regional detention basin has accounted for the eventual uses of all of these lots. So they all need to meet certain criteria for how much impervious the overall composite impervious of each development. So we're going to be meeting that. All the stormwater pipes are going to be sourced to convey the 100-year event per all the criteria. And then the detention basin itself is being sized to release at to meet water quality regulations and also to meet the timed release so that we're matching or so that we're releasing detained flows either at or below historic rates. So, because I know there was some concern earlier on about the degradation of the creek. So
Sure.
everything goes to the pond first and releases at or below historic rates. So
Perfect. Thank you very much. Exactly what I needed to hear. Next one, visual and corridor aesthetics. Obviously, vehicle displays visibility from I-25 and the adequacy of the landscaping and architectural art as it's set up. My question is, you mentioned the lighting for the lighting with the dark skies. Is there going to be a Buick sign 40 feet in the air that's blasting over I-25 showing that that individual vehicle sales location is there? If there is, how high is that sign going to be? And is it going to be lit in compliance with dark sky?
Walid Al-Khoury with Westney.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We are forced to put one sign, pylon sign on for every dealership. It's around 35 feet, 25 to 35 feet. I think in this location, we will be okay with 25 feet because it's on I-25.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to be lit for sure.
It's going to be, is that,
Internally lit.
yes, sir. Is it going to be, is there a picture of what this looks like anywhere?
Commissioner Trujillo, we're loading that image now of the elevation.
I can hear you. I'm sorry.
We're loading that image of the elevations for you now so you can see where those signs on the building are.
Okay, great.
Hold one moment.
Perfect. I think she's getting it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, she said she was pulling it up.
Yep, it's coming up. You'll see it there in the middle image. You can see on the far left and right of the building. Those are some of the signs that will be posted on the building for you.
Middle image.
Apologies, I don't have the monument sign loaded and ready to go if the applicant would like to speak to that a bit.
But I don't have it included in my presentation.
Yeah, no worries.
I will mention that a separate sign.
Yes, sir. Perfect.
That anyways shows what's proposed.
And that sign, I see it's located right there on that far southwest corner of
Right.
the entire lot, right off of I-25.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Again, question answered. Appreciate your time on that. Inside the corridor, you talked about the vehicles that would be displayed, 240. How many was that? 240 254 vehicles in display. Where are those 254 vehicles displayed at? Are they all located off to the west side of the Phase 2 building? So that way they're all seen by those individuals that are going down I-25. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
I think they would just kind of be distributed throughout. The spaces that are nearest the front entrance would be more reserved for guests. And so, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know if you want to.
Have mostly display areas are going to be like around the buildings.
Yes, sir.
But on the I-25, we have on the corner, southwest, southeast corner. This one, we're going to have concrete and we're going to have display cars.
Yes, sir.
It's mostly around like 10 to 12 cars only.
Okay.
But on the other side, in the parking spaces, we have like display area or parking or storage. We spread them around.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Also about the sign, I want to mention something. Only the lettering are lit. The whole sign is like dark.
Okay, thank you again. Last question that I have right now is water. Obviously, we have the revenue that would be coming in to the tune, like you mentioned, 336,000 with a 7% tax rate across the board. Monument, obviously, in a standard winter from 2020 to 2026 has had seen an increase of water prices of about 36%. That's at 4,000 gallons per household. In the summertime, it's roughly averaged about 12,000 gallons. They're increased about 45% in the water. In this project, how much water is projected in a lot like this? I guess that would help the community offset those costs associated with water, as obviously we are in a drought season and we continue to challenge those areas that, you know, we're being looked at for water here in the community. Just a question, would this be something that obviously Buick would look at as we continue to look at our waterways going forward in the future here in Monument, in the town of Monument?
I have Tom Blunk online ready to speak again if you.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Tom, you're still there?
Yeah, I'm still here if you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so to the question of water, I don't think it's come up in any of the presentations yet, but unlike most of the town of Monument, which is within the Tri-View Water and Sewer District,
Yes,
this
sir.
is within Forest Lakes Metro District, so it doesn't have anything to do with the town of Monument and any water service or water fees. It's purely through Forest Lakes Metropolitan District.
So Forest Lakes does have a will serve though, correct? I'm assuming?
Correct. They issued a will serve letter for this project some time ago. The numbers were provided to them. They had their water engineer do the analysis. And it's even with the car wash, which has a recycle component, it's
Yes,
a relatively low water user at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm asking Tom on this is, again, that was the same story we heard in 2020, but still we have those increases in water for the commercial and the residential here. You know, 45% in 6 years, obviously during those summer months is a concern. That would be, you know, something to consider in the future. I get it, even though it's with Black Forest. Tri-View still in that same boat. All the areas down here in Colorado will continue to be in those boats, but it's something that, again, just want to make sure the public's aware of. And, you know, I would definitely have, it's a challenging growing market here as we continue to develop in Colorado, as all of us do know. But we just want to make sure that's for the record across the board. Thank you. I have no other questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Parr.
Yeah, I just have one question. Your future building B, what is that going to be when it is built? What does it serve? Like a used car dealer or something?
It's going to be a new car dealership.
Okay, also it might be a instead of selling.
Yeah, an Audi dealership or whatever allows kind of for distance between car dealerships. Like we have 50.
Do you mind stepping on up to the microphone?
Yeah. Now the distance between dealerships is like 15 miles. Whatever we can put, we kept that for the future, whatever they can buy or
Okay, that makes sense.
They can put a new business in it.
Do you have a feel for when that might be built?
I think after this one will be like a couple of years after this one.
Okay,
3 years from now or 4.
okay, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hatch.
Based on the first documentation I read, it said it was 847 parking spaces on 12.5 acres, and it's now 679. Was there adjustment made in the process?
Pardon me, your microphone was not being picked up, so I'm going to quickly reset your microphone and you can repeat that. I'm so sorry.
I think I can restate that question for Commissioner Hatch in the meantime. Commissioner Hatch's question was in regards to some misalignment of documentation of parking spaces on the site. The information I included in my documentation and staff report was pulled from the most recent final site plan. So potentially that number had adjusted since the original submittal, and now my documentation is pulled from the final approved plan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I too had concerns about a lot of pavement and water runoff. I see that they're going to divert around the second building, burying a drain to carry it over to across Terrazzo, I believe, to the storm or to the detention, water detention. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a main storm line that runs from the property to the north and runs through the site to the south. We're piping as much water as we can. So both of the buildings are going to have roof drains that go underground, tie into that storm sewer, takes it to the south side of the property and then heads west to Terrazzo. And then it runs on the east side of Terrazzo within the right of way down to the detention basin.
I also saw in our plan that the Falcon Karma Center has 44 acres of natural grass that's going to stay. Is that correct, or am I reading that wrong?
I believe you might be referencing the open space. Yes. If I recall, it was actually 33, something like that. Yes. Hold one moment. Roughly 33 acres of open space in Area F. So that includes 1.75 acres of open space east of Area D as well. So 33 acres.
I mentioned that just so that we can understand that not everything's going to get covered. Unfortunately, car dealerships do put out a lot of cement there. Okay. The next question I have is about the car wash. Is that a public or business car wash? Is that going to be just for your vehicles?
Yeah, it's going to be only for the 2 dealerships. And we have 3 tanks, recycled tanks. It means all the water is going to be recycled over and over inside the car wash.
Thank you very much. Car display, we already have something that's going to be amended on that. My concern was over down off Nevada, where you have them up on roofs and elevated on big cranes. I'm not sure, we want you to sell, of course, but at the same time, we don't want to be coming onto the I-25 and looking at a vehicle staring us down from the air. So I appreciate that. The drainage report mentioned it needed to be received by you all, signed and sealed. Has that been done? Thank you. Vegetated green wall, will that be artificial or live? Because I think it might be a little difficult to keep it alive.
It will be just vines, really. It's vines planted at the base and it's a trellis, so it will be live, yeah.
I'm trying to go through here quick. Carports for hail. I noticed a lot of car dealerships are putting those up. Do we have plans for that here?
Yes, we do. We have plans for the hail, and we're trying to do, like we're doing now in the existing dealership in Highlands in Littleton, we're doing a solar canopies. And we might be thinking also doing the same over here.
And the colors will blend with the building?
Yeah, we'll, whatever the city, kind of recommend and stuff, we're fine with that.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody knows that those could be popping
Yeah,
up.
yeah, it's coming up.
And I've seen the light pollution. You've got the lights at a good height at 22. I think I've checked everything off. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Hatch. All right, I do have a couple of things. Regarding traffic, are there going to be any adjustments or improvements needed at the intersection of Terrazzo and Squadron Drive at the entrance on the west side, the primary entrance? What type of improvements are going to be made, if any, at that intersection? Are you aware of any?
Any improvements made there? It's all been kind of designed for these large industrial and commercial uses. So it's built to accommodate what's proposed.
Okay. On-site fueling. Will there be any on-site fueling, any buried tanks to fuel vehicles, or are you going to use the retail outlets in proximity to the dealership?
There's nothing proposed for underground fueling, so I imagine they'll just use the nearby gas stations. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple of questions on the car wash. I spent about 30 years selling and building car washes. So my questions are, the car wash building is 7,500 square feet. Quick Quack Car Wash is 6,000 square feet for that building. Why 7,500 square feet for a car wash building? What other uses will that building provide to the dealership? Sure.
In the middle, we're putting the car wash 50 feet long, 22 feet wide. And the other spaces on the north or on the east and the west, we have detail bays, and we have wet detail bays, and we have a dry detail bays. Means we're dividing the building into detail center in general and car wash in the middle.
Okay, and then do you have a feel for the type of equipment that you'll have in the automatic car wash bay? Is it going to be touch-free, friction, a hybrid type model?
It's going to be from Broadway Car Wash.
Okay.
It's going to be the whatever the class.
Brushes?
Yeah.
Okay. And you do have some reclaim. What size, do you have any idea what the reclaim tanks, what size those will
Not
be?
the size, to be honest, but I know we have 3 tanks.
Okay. And then spot-free water, do you plan to have spot-free water applied on the vehicles?
I have to check the specs on the car wash because
Okay.
usually they do it with it. Before we used to do in the dealership to do it, but now the car washes are
Right.
equipped with that.
The only reason I say that is in order to generate 1 gallon of spot-free water, you need to throw away about 2 to 3 gallons of fresh water. And so I just want to make sure that when we get down to it, that we look at reclaiming that back flush from the RO system into the reclaim system so that we can reuse that water rather than just throwing it down the drain. That's just something I had in mind.
Okay.
Let's see. I had a question. I'm sorry. Let me just skip over to Jake for a moment.
Okay.
Jake, I noticed that the full spectrum detention basin that's shown on the drawings from 2020 shows that drawing of that basin. And I know that you said that they've anticipated that the stormwater, that basin will handle any of the stormwater, but did they truly anticipate 12.5 acres of impervious surface in buildings like Commissioner Treehills mentioned and other comments from the public?
Yes, I believe so. Our drainage report, which I don't have on me, we're meeting all the requirements of the preliminary PUD. So we're meeting in terms of impervious, whatever we need to meet in order to comply with the original drainage report that sized that regional detention basin.
Okay, all right. And our engineers have reviewed that and they verified that. Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Jake. I appreciate that. This is maybe more of a question for town staff, but the drawings on page 5 of the submittal drawings that shows the building itself and a lot of other detail shows keeping the existing sidewalk on the northwest side of the property, but the existing soft surface trail is going to be kept also on the southwest side of the property. Why aren't we requiring them to have that as a sidewalk rather than a soft surface trail?
I came in late on the creation of the staff report, so I'm going to let our planner one, Ray Medina, speak to that if he would like to.
My answer is I don't know if I have a good response for that one.
It's okay.
It was thought of and considered, but not enforced necessarily.
Yeah, I think that for that soft surface trail, I was out there today, is what, 5 feet wide, I think. And it goes from Squadron Drive all the way down to the Eagle Rock building. And on the other side, on the west side of Terrazzo, we've got sidewalk all the way down. So I think to be consistent, we should have sidewalk, and not just for this project, but for any additional projects as they come. I think we need to require that to be a concrete sidewalk. At least that's my opinion. I don't know if any of the other commissioners would agree with that, but that's just my opinion at this point in time. I had one other question on LED lighting. I noticed you had the photometrics. I think it's on page 13 of your drawings. And it had a listing of the fixtures. Do I understand that the color temperature is going to be somewhere between daylight and sunlight on that color temperature rating of about 5,000 versus a soft color? What can you tell me what the LED lighting will look like on the site?
Don't remember the number, but we followed the criteria of the whole development. We got the criteria from Tom Blank, and then we put the same things, same light, but I don't remember the exact number.
Will any of those lights be dimmable? Will you have?
Yes, they are dimmable, and we have lighting control also to shut them off. Like we have lighting control for the whole property outside.
Okay, all right.
We know that we have, like, after 10 o'clock, we have to dim them or we have to shut them down.
Okay,
And we have that ability.
perfect. Thank you. And then the last question really is maybe for town staff again, and I'm hopefully you might be able to answer this, but what portion of the tax revenue will the town of Monument be getting?
I do not have that answer by chance. Mr. Ungerleider, do you?
So it is the applicant was presenting it. It's for the materials and service. The car sales themselves are taxed locally. So I would reaffirm that what was presented to you earlier is similar to what would be collected here for the service and materials. And then hopefully we'll have lots of Buick sold here locally, and that will make a difference and earn some tax dollars here for our local economy.
Okay, I guess maybe I didn't, and thank you. That's part of what I was looking for. The other part, and I didn't ask the question correctly, is are we splitting that sales tax with any metro district?
This area is not technically part of the Tri-View Metropolitan District, so we do not have an IGA that does that.
So
it's the split.
Not with Forest Lakes or with anyone else at this point?
No, sir.
So this would be 100% of any tax collected would go to Monument.
It would be the town sales tax. That's correct.
Okay, great. Okay. Any other questions for commissioners? Commissioner Trio?
Yes, sir. Got a couple more questions. This one's primarily to staff. Well, phase completion, what is driving the second phase of completion inside this build out? My concern is if we do an auto dealership and it doesn't meet a metrics associated with sales and they fail to make that second phase, now we have a huge parking lot. Is there a phased plan to get that second phased building built on a timeline, or is it based off of some metric that we're going to be stuck with a big parking lot and one building down the line?
I don't believe the car business will fail.
No, and I don't think so either. I just
I
wanna
know
make
your
sure.
concern,
Yes,
but
sir.
usually, like General Motors, they do a lot of studies when they choose an area to put a new dealership. It's not up to us or to the owner
Sure.
where to put the dealership. General Motors, they studied that area for, I think, 10 years to came up that it's going to be a successful, profitable dealership. And for sure, in 3-4 years, we're going to put a dealership. That's for sure.
So is there a timeline for that phase 2 building to go up?
Whenever they buy the dealership, but it's not going to be like too long.
So right now, there is no timeline for a phase
No,
2. It's just going to be a parking lot
Yes,
long
it's going
term.
to be grass property.
Okay. I guess my second question then going to staff is very direct. Are we setting a precedent for future planning for more and more car lots in this region, in Monument? Just like we had several different districts associated with car washes that we've had. We have several now in Monument. We have several auto parts stores in Monument. With the car dealership, this being the number one that's coming in, and it doesn't have a phased approach yet. I mean, it's the dealership building. The plan is there to build it. I think there's a lot of revenue to be built for the town of Monument. But are we setting a precedence for car dealers to come into Monument and more just keep coming, just like we've had this follow through for the previous businesses?
My thought to that as far as future car dealerships, this use was essentially set out with the approval of the preliminary PUD.
Sure.
So any future uses that were considered and conceived of now, that potentially would be a consideration, but this land use and development is based on that previous approval. So I'm not sure as far as setting a precedence to do so. I also don't think necessarily that it would serve the applicant to let it sit too long. I'm sure that that timeline would simply, as mentioned, just fall on, when they can find that correct retailer to be in that location. So I don't think it sets a precedence, no. 'Cause
Okay.
it falls on a previous approval.
That's what I wanted to make sure that town was not doing that whatsoever. Appreciate your time. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, sir.
All right, any other questions, comments? Donna, sorry, Commissioner Hatch.
How many employees do you think you'll be hiring and having at this facility?
We're estimating between 100 and 150 employees from entry level to management staff. We'll also be partnering with the local schools that have auto tech programs and offering mentorship programs and things of that nature as well.
Thank you. Before we entertain a motion, I wanted to take a look at the staff recommendations. Obviously, motion 1 is pretty cut and dried and approving the project. Motion number 2 has a couple of possible conditions. I just wanted to see if there were any comments or thoughts on the conditions that the staff is recommending from the commission. Sure.
To just brief those recommendations, I'm happy to hear that it sounds like the applicant's development and ideas on how they're going to work that is going to fall right in line with those recommendations. The first recommendation being that we are limiting the number of vehicles displayed in that southeastern corner of the lot to what was displayed on the plans, which was 13. Sounds like that's right in line with the applicant's proposal. And we're also requiring that those vehicles be displayed on a durable dust-free surface, concrete, asphalt, such as that. The second recommendation is just kind of protecting ourselves from any overuse of the pad that is intended to be building B whenever it's in the interim of it being developed. It sounds like the applicant is looking to seed that area. So this additional condition is just also to protect that area from vehicles being parked on that space in the interim as well.
Okay, great. You're good with that. Any thoughts on attaching a third condition to have the soft surface sidewalk on the east side of Terrazzo Drive paved from the intersection of Squadron Drive to the end of the property?
Are you?
I'll listen to what you got to say. Sure.
Apologies. My mic was cutting out. If you're looking for a staff recommendation, I would say that I'm not familiar enough with that portion of the project to speak on it, and I will pass.
Any thoughts from the commissioners on that?
My concern is already the landscaping and everything that's been presented to us and how that would have to change to accommodate.
Same, yeah, I agree. I mean, they're already doing a lot on there. It just depends on, I don't know how many people are using that western half as a walkway. I mean,
Right. I just wanted it to be consistent on both sides of the street. We have hard sidewalk all the way extending up to Baptist Road on both the east and west side. So it seemed inconsistent that we wouldn't have a sidewalk on the east side.
what are the potential uses of those areas down in sector C, E, down there in that portion? I think if we have an understanding of what those pieces coming in are going to be, if there is a potential that there is multifamily housing, things along that lines, it definitely sway my opinion on, requesting that from y'all to make sure that we do have that in place for those patrons that do possibly live in those areas in the future.
Commissioner Trujillo, we have the slide here for you showing those various areas that I described in my presentation. You would find residential in area D. Again, area F is reserved for open space. The bottom portion of area B would be consistent with this current use, commercial uses, as well as civic and institutional. So you would find residential in area D.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, that was my thought, is that at some point in the future, we'll have someone in front of us talking about residential for area D. And I'd like to make it as accessible on the east side of the street as well as on the west side.
Yes, sir.
with
I
the
concur.
sidewalk. So that's my
Yep.
thinking, but I want to make sure that we're consistent. All right. Well, I would entertain a motion. And if you'd like me to make the motion, I can do that and include the conditions. I can do that. All right. I move that the request for approval of the Alpine Dealership Falcon Commerce Center final PUD plan within phase 2 of the Falcon Commerce Center preliminary PD plan for property located on parcel number 71350000. Make sure I get it right, number
Yep.
035. I move that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval denial to Town Council supported by the attached documents and by the finding of fact as listed in the staff report with the following conditions. The first one, the vehicle display area in the southeast corner of the lot, as shown on page 8 of the final PUD plan set, shall be utilized as presented, having a maximum of 13 vehicles parked or displayed in this area, and any vehicles parked or displayed in this area shall be parked on an approved surface consisting of durable, dust-free, all-weather material such as concrete asphalt, asphalt millings installed over a compacted base, pavers installed over a compacted base, or other similar hard surface materials. Condition number 2, no vehicles shall be parked or displayed on the building pad for phase 2, building B during development. And condition 3, paved concrete of the existing soft surface sidewalk from the on the southwest end of the property from Squadron Drive to the end of the property line. Do I have a second?
I have a second.
So I have a motion and a second. Ray, will you mind taking roll, please?
Thank you, Chair Egley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch,
Yes.
Commissioner Parr,
Yes.
and Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4 in favor.
Thank you. I also move that we request for approval the Alpine Dealership at Falcon Commerce Center final plat. Do I need to do that? I assume. Within phase 2 of the Falcon Commerce Center preliminary PUD plan for property located on parcel number 7135000035. I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to Town Council supported by the attached documents and by the finding of fact as listed in the staff report. Do we have a second?
Second, Commissioner Trujillo.
Ray, would you mind taking roll, please?
Thank you, Chair Egley,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch,
Yes.
Commissioner Parr,
Yes.
and Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4 in favor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the second item for our public hearing tonight. It's for a final plat and rezone for the Monument Fire Training Facility. Ray Medina,
One moment, please, while I get everything together.
certainly.
While we're waiting for Ray to get his slide presentation ready, after this item, while it's not on our agenda, I'd love to hold everyone, just kind of take the temperature of commission to get some feedback and a little bit of direction and guidance on a recent conversation I'm hearing about potentially drafting and creating some design standards for metal structures in all districts throughout the community. So again, of course, I am only one brain and you are our working group. So maybe in the time after this public hearing Ray's going to present, we could potentially think of a date that would be good to do maybe a 45-minute workshop on top of one of our upcoming meetings.
That'd be great.
Great.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your patience, everyone. My name is Ray Medina, planner for the town monument, and I'm going to be presenting to you the Monument Fire District Training Center final plat and rezoning. As an introduction, the applicant Architecture on behalf of the Monument Fire Protection District requests a final plat approval and rezoning for the Monument Fire Training Project located at 18650 West Highway 105 here in Monument, Colorado. The proposal involves the expansion of the existing fire department facility, including construction of a 11,040 square foot classroom and garage building, a training tower, and a future training area. Each request will be considered separately based on relevant review criteria and forwarded to Town Council for consideration with a recommendation from the Planning Commission. As we usually go through, this public hearing was noticed. It met all of our requirements. The applicant made sure to get in the 15-day requirement for public noticing and forward all of it to adjacent properties. Some included attachments with the staff report included the location of future land use maps for the property, public hearing notices, the applicant's project narrative, the subdivision plat, a drainage report, traffic analysis letter, and a site plan as well to go with the development of the site, as well as a letter from the town engineer recommendation of approval. So for further information, we kind of went through all this already, but we're just here to talk about representing Oz Architecture is Chris Purdue, and then representing Monument Fire District is Jimmy Bogart. So some surrounding zoning and land uses. To the north, we have a residential R3 zone district from the El Paso County district. To the south, similarly, is residential in El Paso County. To the east, we are in light industrial zoning for the town of Monument. And to the west, we have some commercial and residential also in county property. So some history and background for this project. The fire district has maintained operations at this location for several years. September 23rd, 2020, a PD zoning and sketch plan were approved for the property known as Fire Station Number 1. The site has since consistently been used for public safety functions. Existing improvements include the primary fire station and associated parking areas. The training center represents the next phase of development to support the district's long-term operational objectives. The final plat. The Monument Fire District is proposing to divide its existing property into two separate parcels designated as Parcel A and Parcel B. Parcel A will continue to house the Tri Lakes Monument Fire Rescue Station, which will remain fully operational. Planned improvements on Parcel A include the construction of a classroom/garage building and a new training tower to support firefighter training needs. Parcel B will remain vacant for the time being, with the intention of developing it in the future as a wildland training and staging area once the district is ready to proceed. The site plan itself, essentially, the proposed site plan demonstrates compliance with the town monument's public building setback standards, providing the required 25-foot setback along the front, rear, and side property lines. We've included the site plan for you as a supportive document. A recommendation for approval of the site plan is not expected in today's public hearing. Architecture. The fire station's architecture incorporates a coordinated palette of durable materials that express both functionality and civic presence. The west elevation is defined primarily by insulated metal panels, using a combination of standard gray tones and a distinctive red accent at the roofline to emphasize the building's operational identity. The east elevation introduces greater material richness, featuring extensive use of Norman brick in red and brown hues, which adds texture and a grounded institutional character to the facade. Along the south elevation, the design shifts towards transparency with insulated glazing at the building front, paired with standing seam metal roof that reinforces the building's resilience aesthetic. Together, these elements create a cohesive architectural expression that balances durability, visibility, and professional public-facing image. Landscaping. Landscaping around the site is designed to provide both visual buffering and compliance with the town's landscape standards. Along the north property line, adjacent to the residential subdivision and separated by an existing fence, is a continuous row of evergreen trees is proposed to create a year-round screening. Within interior parking areas, the plan incorporates a mix of deciduous trees, ornamental species, shrubs, and grasses selected directly from the town of Monument's approved landscaping guidelines. Additional landscaping is concentrated at the driveway entrances, where enhanced plantings frame the access points and improve sightlines in and out of the property. Some quick points on stormwater and traffic analysis. So based on the submitted hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, the proposed drainage system adequately mitigates runoff generated by the development and reduces downstream impacts relative to existing conditions. The analysis does not include future development of Parcel B. Additional drainage evaluation will be required at the time of Parcel B's development. Based on the current data and analysis included in the applicant's October 2025 drainage report and review of that report by IMEG, the town engineer, town staff concurs with the previously stated assessments. So for traffic analysis, the proposed Monument Fire District training facility is expected to generate low traffic volumes, and the analysis concludes that no roadway improvements are required. The combined daily trips from the existing Station 1 and the new classroom/training uses are estimated at approximately 55 vehicles per day, well below the 100 vehicle threshold that would trigger a full traffic impact study. Peak hour activity remains limited, with most trips associated with shift changes and periodic classroom use. Based on the current data and analysis included in this applicant's October 2025 traffic letter and review of this analysis letter by the town engineer, town staff concurs with that assessment as well. So as similarly stated in our former presentations, we review and base all of our project reviews on the final plat review criteria in section 1802-260C. I won't go through every single point here today, but that is where they come from, 1 through 10. Similarly, we have a rezoning criteria that town staff uses to evaluate the project. That is code section 1803-140D. So finding of facts and staff recommendation. After reviewing the Monument Fire District subdivision final plat, the following finding of fact have been made. The request has met the applicable criteria identified in section 1802-260C of the Land Development Code. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request. And after reviewing the request for rezoning alongside the fire training facility site plan, the following findings have been made. The request has met the applicable criteria identified in section 1803-140D of the Land Development Code. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request. For further details as to how we've analyzed each point in town code, you can look to your staff report for further details. Our recommended motion/action. Motion 1 on the request for approval of the Monument Fire District subdivision final plat for property located on parcel number 71151180002. We hope that you move the planning commission forward recommendation of approval/denial. It's up to you to town council, supported by the attached document by finding of fact, and similarly for the request for the approval of rezoning. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ray. Do we have anything from the applicant? They want to say anything?
Good evening. I'm Chris Purdue with Strategic Site Designs. So I'm helping Chief Bumgarner kind of implement the district's strategic plan as their facilities are growing. Their staffing, obviously, we've had huge population booms, the need for new stations to decrease response times, more firefighters, more training, things like that. one of the things that's really facilitating this project and the need for it is there's a lot of shared facilities throughout the firefighting community down here with Colorado Springs. You know, it's aging infrastructure. It's difficult to, everyone's kind of scheduling in and trying to work together to try and access that space. And it's not necessarily allowing the districts to be able to meet the needs that they have on an individual basis. So by Monument being able to expand their facilities and bring that, you know, kind of in-house, they're not having the scheduling conflicts. They're able to do the training they need when they need to do the training. You know, it reduces the wear and tear on the vehicles and cost of the district because you don't have to take fire engines out of service and move them out of the district to do training in other areas. So they're able to do all that stuff. So even if there is a call during a training exercise, everyone's there and able to respond promptly. So this project started out working with Ray and Dan a while back. It was a much bigger endeavor when we started. You know, the district has needs, and we were trying to get all of their needs on this particular site. The site is challenged topographically. It's challenged from a stormwater runoff. There's a lot of off-site drainage that comes through the parcel. And as we got into the more detailed civil design and started doing some cost estimating and some other things, we realized that there was a cost-benefit analysis phase of the project where we said, okay, we should probably scale this back and really look at the immediate needs and what do we need today, and let's try and find a way to get that done. So the site plan that Ray showed up on the screen is kind of the scaled-back version that kind of addresses the immediate short-term need of the district. The subdivision plat is being facilitated by the district may or may not, and Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong here, they may or may not develop the remainder of that parcel in the future. You know, Ray had mentioned Wildland Training Center. There may be opportunities to be able to acquire other parcels within the district to be able to develop those facilities, and it may be a lot cheaper to buy the land and do the earthwork and the associated cost of that. So the idea is to rezone the property, subdivide it, create the additional parcel. The district may convey that to another interest at some point. They may sell it. We don't know. You know, whatever gets developed there, though, would have to align with the allowable or permitted uses in the public zoning district. Another thing, just briefly to touch on, I'll be quiet. When we do these things, there's always, anytime we talk fire stations, I do a lot of these, there's always noise, lights, you know, those kinds of things. Obviously, the existing fire station is already there. So there's already an element of noise and lights and things like that going on now. That's not going to increase. I don't think, Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, training is an everyday thing. You know, they're not going to be using the training tower every day. It may be used at night sometimes on a very, very limited basis, you know, no more than a couple of times a month at most. And it won't be at 3 a.m. in the morning, if that makes sense. We also, when we originally done the project, knowing that there was residential uses adjacent to the project, we brought in an acoustical sub-consultant who've done acoustic studies and other things like that. And you can see kind of on the top there's some berms that are highlighted there. And basically those berms are 8-foot berms working with the acoustical engineer that would help mitigate a lot of the noise and a lot of the things that would be going on from the training center. You know, it's directly adjacent to those residential uses. I think that's all I got. I'm available for questions if you have any after everyone speaks. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, since this is a public hearing, we'll go ahead and open it up for public comments or questions. Anyone in the audience have a comment or question? Please sign in again for us or sign up for us.
Darlene Scow, investing in front streets in town and monuments where we live. So what is the current zoning? And I assume since the fire department owns it, isn't it already heavy industrial? And what are we changing it to? I just missed that part of the presentation.
Of course, sorry, I was going a little too fast there. It was originally zoned as part of a PUD sketch plan for the property, so it didn't have an official straight zoned for any civic use. So they're planning to rezone from the PUD that specified fire district to a public zoning district that allows for civic uses.
Any other questions from anyone in the room? How about, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So Gene Houston, I live directly south in the big pasture there that catches all the runoff from everybody in the world. You know, they talk about it's only going to be used maybe a couple times a month at night. Can we set a limit on that? That's permanent. My other thing that I think I heard in the meeting that I went to at their fire station is that they said other districts would come in and start using this facility as well. And are we going to limit that? I mean, we're paying for this. We're spending $3 million last I heard, and it sounds like the project is shrunk, but that was the last number I had. And that's what we're going to be putting. Do you want me to go through a bunch of questions and then have them answer? Or how do you want
Yeah, go ahead and go ahead and pitch all of them, and then we'll give them an opportunity to answer at the end.
So my understanding is going to be a 4-story training tower. I think that's the very first one. That's first building up here that tall. Are we setting that precedence for this area to build high-rise units? My biggest concern where I live is the potential runoff down into our property, which feeds Crystal Creek, which feeds directly into Monument Lake. When you see this thing in the flooding areas, when we get a big 1.5-inch rain or something on that, there is a stream coming down from their side that's 20 feet wide. So anything that they are planning out there, if there's not big detention ponds to withhold it, and I will tell you that there's a detention pond that I was sold for the out to the west of me, where the bar is. They have a pond. Yeah, it's great on the first rain. It fills up, and then the next rain, and I get all their water. It does not. It doesn't help a thing on the second rain.
Do we got a map of where his property is in relation to this by chance?
It is straight across 105.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be great if we could get the picture here.
It basically comes from the railroad tracks going west, doesn't it? Is that your property?
Exactly.
Yeah, 'cause I've seen the flooding before. So.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah,
and it's getting worse every year. Everybody keeps building stuff and says, "Oh, it's a problem." Lot B, my recommendation is we don't rezone it until we know what the heck it's going to be. They talk about putting wildlife mitigation on it. If that happens, you know as well as I know, when you get a hard rain, if the vegetation is removed, then it runs down the hill and it's going to run into my property. In the fire station, the fire tower itself, during the meeting that they had for the public that I went to, they talked about it was only going to be used with Hollywood type fire. So no actual burning of wood or anything like that. All the mist was going to be some mist that's created by Hollywood. Can we make that permanent in the stipulation of this building? Because I know Colorado Springs has changed from burning real stuff to this, back to this. And unless I stipulated, then there would be no way to stop that from happening. The nighttime use and the noise created, I tell you, if I was the people living behind that, I would be in this meeting. I'm not sure whether or not. They live right next door to this thing. They're going to have this 8-foot berm right in back their backyard where they're not going to be able to see over. And then they're going to have a 4-story, I assume, brick building of some sort sticking straight out in front of them. Has there been an environmental impact study done on what's going to happen downstream with this thing? And the other thing I saw was there's trees being planted. I have to the south of me 2 RV storage places that have this beautiful site plan with all these trees being planted, and every one of them is dead because they didn't water. And I'm stuck with looking at that, and there's nothing that's being done about that. So I don't believe it when somebody says that's what they're going to plant. They will not survive unless you water. And I think that's my major questions I have.
Okay, thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? We'll give you an opportunity to respond here in a moment. Any other public comment in the room? About online, Ray?
No, there's no one online. I would like to comment.
Okay. Go ahead and like that, the applicant have an opportunity to respond to some of those questions if you'd like.
I will take the engineering related ones, and I'll let Chief Baumgartner take the operational questions. So I'll talk about drainage first. There was I'm sorry, I can't quote the actual name of the study that was done originally, but there was a giant drainage study done for this whole area. And this particular parcel during a 100-year event has about,
How long ago? That the study that you're referring to in generality?
it's probably 15 years ago.
Okay, 15 years.
Right about that, circa
Thank
15
you.
years ago. So they looked at, and there was some assumptions on future land uses as well in that based on comprehensive plan growth boundaries and stuff. So while it was 15 years ago, they were doing some future anticipation of what it would grow into. There's two flow paths that come onto this parcel. You can see one. I wish I could point to it and show you better, but by the railroad tracks, there's a culvert that comes under the railroad tracks. And you can kind of see that really green area that kind of goes through. During a 100-year event, there's about 440 CFS that come under the railroad trestle, and they flow through this parcel. And then it's
How wide a stream and deep a stream today?
it's all dependent on slope of the basin. I mean, there's any number of variables. It could be, if it's a foot deep, it'd be really, really wide, right? But if it's 10 foot deep, it would be really narrow. So it's difficult to say. I don't know if the whole 440 makes it there because there's some restriction, I think, by the culvert that goes under the railroads. I don't know if you can pass the whole 440 through that culvert. So I think there's probably some localized flooding on the other side, but we didn't get into that very much. And then there's also a flow path that comes through the residential subdivision. And I wish the gentleman who lived in the house was here because I talked to him when we had our public meeting or our neighborhood meeting. But about 200 CFS flows through the side of his yard in the subdivision north of us. And then it runs through the back, kind of back towards the fire station around it. And those two flows converge at that existing box culvert under Highway 105. Is where it all meets up. So there's roughly 640 to 660 CFS during 100 years. That is a lot of water. It is a lot of water. And that's part of the reason that our original development plan for the entire site got scrapped, because the drainage infrastructure that was required to convey that much flow through our project was upwards of $2 million. So we said we're going to leave it the way it is today. Now we are adding impervious area as part of our development plan. We have captured every inch of impervious area that we're adding, and we're conveying that to a detention pond that does water quality, and it does detention as well for the 100-year event and everything in between. As part of that also, there is no existing detention for the existing Station 1. All of that water just runs off without any detention or water quality. We are picking up a lot of roof leaders, a lot of the existing drive aisles and parking lots. So we're actually providing detention and water quality from some of the existing facilities that are there that doesn't have it today, in addition to 100% of the new facilities. And then, so basically when you do that math, we are contributing, if you look at that 105 culvert where the water goes under onto his property, we are generating less runoff to that point in the post-developed condition than we are today. So the runoff actually goes down, albeit a minor percent, but keep in mind, 99.999% of that runoff isn't ours to begin with. It's simply passing through our site. Okay, so with respect to the trees, I agree, pet peeve of mine. We spend all the time and effort getting landscape plans looked at. They're very expensive to put trees in. You have to irrigate them. We have irrigation plans as part of our package, and we do plan to irrigate through drip and other means, the landscaping that we're putting in to keep it alive. I think that was it. And you can talk about it.
Hey, yeah, good evening, Jamie Baumgartner, Division Chief with Monument Fire. A couple things I want to make sure I try to address and address it adequately. The first thing is standing here tonight in front of you, Chris Produce, that's behind me, and Oz Architects, has worked with us on this project. That's the same thing that happens in the fire service. You know, we're talking about this being a training center for Monument Fire, and yes, it's going to be a training center for Monument Fire, and it's needed because daily our call volume is increasing, and if we're in Colorado Springs training, then that's that many units less here to respond to calls in Monument. But if we're here in Monument training, we can leave, as was said before, and go to calls or respond to calls if we need to, and that cuts down that time. The other thing, though, is I'm going to be very honest about it is, yeah, we are going to use this as a regional training center. Our partners come train with us. If we get a structure fire in Monument today, which is a heavy call for us, that means it draws a lot of engines and trucks and resources. We can't do that by ourselves today as Monument Fire. So our partners have to come support us in that event. Well, what a better time than to train with each other than before we have an emergency and we have to respond and never have worked or trained with each other before. So yes, our regional partners will come train with us at this center. It's not going to be every day we have our regional partners training with us at our training center. I would say that that's probably going to happen, you know, once a month, it's something like that. And then once a year, we'll have a large annual training where we would have our partners in here with us. But yeah, they'll do that. We also partner with our local police department, Monument Police. We'll have a classroom, they'll use the classroom. And I know we talked about them using the tower as well to do their training in and that sort of stuff. When we talk about the size of the tower, this size of this tower is not any larger than the 3-story apartment complexes we're building along Jackson Creek Parkway today, particularly. It's going to have a center corridor stairwell built into it, and it's going to have a pitched roof on top of the 3rd story. And that pitched roof helps us in case we need to ladder the roof to get on top of the apartments to ventilate and perform ventilation if we need to do that. And also trains our tower or ladder company crews how they need to run their arrows up to reach the roofs and the peaks of those buildings. So yeah, we're going to have, you could call it a 3.5-story tower, but it's going to be the same size as the apartments that we already have here in Monument today. And all we're trying to do is train and prepare our firefighters and be ready to act when they have a call in those structures. So yeah, Monument's growing, Monument's changing, and we're simply trying to make sure that we train our staff and we're ready when those changes come. One of the things I do want to address as well is when we hire new staff members here, we've partnered with Pikes Peak State College to help us run their training academy. So they go through about a 16-week training academy, and today we can't train them internally at all. We have to partner with other agencies that have a training tower, Air Force Academy, Colorado Springs, etc. We'll be able to bring that in-house now and keep our staff members here in Monument when we're training them, and we feel like that's going to give us a much better product at the end of the day for that. But again, those are the things that I remember that we were talking about. Night training. Let's talk about night training. Night training is going to probably occur as frequently as night training occurs at the fire station today. And now you're going to ask me how frequently that is. Well, I can't tell you because I don't work nights. Okay, I'm a day guy. I don't work 24 or 48 hour shifts like the crews do. But I can tell you we don't get complaints from the neighbors saying our crews are out too late training and they're keeping them up. Because if we do, then we'll address that with the crews if that's too late. I would tell you that if there's a night training happening out there, it's going to be wrapped up by 9 o'clock, if not before. I would be really shocked o'clock if they're going much past 10 o'clock because they're eating dinner, they're getting their stuff ready, they're trying to probably wind down from a very busy day at that point in time. So that's kind of the night training. The training tower itself, discussing what happens in the training tower. The training tower is built to accommodate Class B. Class B is what we consider gas, propane, or natural gas. And it's also built to accommodate Class A, which are wood materials. So that could be pallets, it could be anything like that that produces the smoke that our firefighters need to train in and be prepared for when they are confronted with that actual event. So that's the training tower set up to do both of those as well. I think that was most of the questions that were asked. I think I covered those, and I'll certainly step back and answer any other questions that might come.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll close the public hearing. You can, yeah.
Yeah, Gene, so again, so we're going to be burning pallets and stuff in here now and having real smoke rolling into the neighborhoods?
Go ahead and just go ahead and close that question. We'll have a minute.
Okay. So the question is, are we going to have real pallets and stuff being burnt and having real smoke rolling into these neighborhoods? The other thing I don't think was in the documentation I read, I didn't read it all, I apologize, but police training, are they going to be firing off weapons within this facility and causing that kind of noise in the area?
I can answer that. No, that's not the intent of that. It's classroom training. It's bringing people in. We're not going to use, there's no plans for anything like that. So this
use the power for training.
That's different. That's not, I'm going out of my way. I'm going off on a limb here. That's not the intent. If anything, we're using the classrooms. We don't have classrooms here in town hall. There's other meetings also that we would do in conjunction with the fire district. But there's no intent to turn that into any kind of shooting range or anything like that. If there is, I will confirm that and I will report to you at council. But I'm very comfortable in stepping out without the chief next to me telling you that that's not the intent of this facility.
Just want to make sure everything else is. I have a huge concern of smoke in the area for real smoke. Okay. When it was presented at the public meeting, when most of the people there, it was supposed to be just Hollywood smoke.
All right, thank you.
I don't think we addressed Lot B. What is the plan in zoning, and should we change that?
Okay, we'll talk about that in a moment here. All right, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing and move on to questions and comments from commissioners. Commissioner Trujillo.
Gentlemen, I have questions for both of y'all if you want to come on up now because we've done some back and forth, I'm sure. Thank you for being here. Firm believer and obviously supporting the community. You were spot on when you mentioned growth pressure here in monuments in El Paso County in general. First question for you is, within the infrastructure as it's laid out, who's purchasing this? Is it the county? Is it the state? Is it federal? Or am I paying for it within a citizen of monument? I just want to make sure it's very clear on where these funds are coming from.
Everything is being purchased for by the fire district within the property taxes that we assess.
So my property taxes as a resident of Colorado, as monuments, specifically monument, no funds associated with El Paso County are coming into monument to pay for this facility. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement, yes, sir.
Okay. Next question. Training facility. You mentioned that we need a training facility. How close is the closest training facility right now for fire comparable to your station?
The closest one is the United States Air Force Academy, and we all know the requirements to get on base there. So that is our closest one. If you're asking me a road mileage,
I'll tell you it's 15 to 20 miles.
Okay.
It's 12 to 16 in a straight line. But if you're going code 1 with your lights on from that training facility to any fire in monument, you could probably be there within 30 minutes. So my question
per mile, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 minutes per mile. But even still, looking at that, chief, my question is this: from the training aspect, in building this with my tax dollars as a citizen of monument, is the cost comparable to a training facility instead of using the Air Force Academy? To me, it doesn't add up. When we have a facility already there, even though the requirements on the federal land is very strict, yes, it is, but I think there's very commendable aspects to leverage that as well.
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Trujillo, I recommend sticking to the standards that are in Chapter 18 of the municipal code.
Sure.
I understand your questions and I can understand your concerns as a resident. But as a planning commission member, we really need to be sticking with the findings and the standards that are in Chapter 18.
Correct. I'm just addressing the citizens' petition associated with those
I
individual
understand.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we focus in on what we're responsible for here.
Sure. That leads to my next question. I appreciate that. Within the actual fire aspect of this, right now our watershed in the monument area, unfortunately, big problem down in the southern sector of Colorado Springs to include PFAS. Is there any decisiveness associated with the fire mitigation inside this training facility if it does in fact pass? Would PFAS be even a possibility used inside these areas up here in training?
No, sir. We cannot use PFAS impregnated materials or anything like that.
Very well. Thank you. And that is all I have at this time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for both of you guys. I was also concerned, like he was, about the smoke. If you're building a big fire in the tower, and how do you really can't contain smoke, I don't believe. How do you keep it from drifting into his house or the other houses around the area?
One of the things that we have to do when we burn is we have to look at what the conditions are as far as we call it smoke dispersal. And so even when they did the large wildfire burn, I don't know how many of you were present over in the Pike National Forest a couple of years ago. They could only burn on certain days when the smoke dispersal was great enough that as soon as the fire started, it would pull the smoke up and take it up and out into the upper stratospheres of the atmosphere. So away from us down here on the ground. That's one of the things we have to consider as well when we're doing burns, whether it's a Class B burn or Class A burn, is what's going to happen with that smoke and what's that going to be like. So that's a consideration we have to take into every day before we go in there and light a fire, or whatever we're going to do with that is how's that smoke going to disperse and what's that going to look like when it comes out of the vents, the windows, or wherever it's coming from.
How long do you think that fire would be burning and producing smoke?
Oh, sir, I'm sorry, cut you off, sir. It would be minutes at the longest. And what I mean by that is we would set up, if that were the case, a fuel package in a corner, and as soon as the crews are ready to come in, we would light that fuel package. And if it burned for 2 minutes, that would probably be an extremely long time before they were in putting it out.
Okay, I was thinking half hour, an hour, or something like that.
No, sir. If it burns that long, we're destroying the power that we're building, and we don't want to do that.
Okay, so then you're not using a lot of water,
No, sir. We would not use a lot of water either in that case.
I was concerned about the water runoff also. So.
Our average engine carries 750 gallons of water on it, and a normal house fire, if we pull up, and I say a normal house fire, we call that a room contents. So if you example a bedroom with a bedroom bed and maybe some furniture, it's going to take less than 750 gallons of water to put that fire out. Okay. And so that's what we're betting on, is it's going to take us probably 100 to 200 at the most.
Okay. Now I got one other question. If you're driving on 105 and you're coming toward the station, once you go into the railroad tracks, there's a sign that says the town city limits. In the fire department, are you actually in monument or are you outside the city limits?
Yes, sir, we are in monument.
Actually, this property is in city limits. Okay, so that sign is correct then.
Now, if you walk far out of our fire station, you're not in the town limits, but you are in the town limits in the fire station.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hatch?
I have a question about, are there fees charged to your colleagues who come into our area to use this?
So I'll have to address that in multiple fact. If we host a class, then we're probably going to charge for folks to come to the class. So an example, if we were hosting, I don't know, a ladders training class, we may charge a fee for folks to come to that. If we're just doing what we call a drill, where we're going to get an engine from Palmer Lake and an engine from Black Forest and then 2 of our engines, no, we wouldn't charge them a fee to use that space at that point in time.
Would you feel burdened by a time limit and a day limit on night use?
Are you saying like?
I'm talking about like night training.
Yes, ma'am.
3 times a week, 3 times a month. You know, I heard 3 to 4 times a month. You thought you might, but is there a chance there could be more?
Well, I will say that I don't want to limit the firefighters, and let me just preface that. We could get a call at 2 a.m., and oftentimes we get multiple calls when it's dark outside. Well, they do need to be able to train when it's dark outside. So I don't want to say, yeah, 3 times a week would be perfect, but I would say I'm not opposed to limiting the time frame if we had to do that, like how long a training could go. But I would say that like I'm scared to say you can only do it 2 days a week because we have 3 shifts that rotate through, and normally we'll train on Monday, Wednesday, Friday to make sure we get all 3 of our shifts. So I am concerned when you say the number of days a week that I could train at night.
Chief, if I may, you did mention earlier that those night trainings would be completed roughly 9 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, I had a couple of quick questions. Would you say that the number of, I'll use the term live fire training in the tower, is that once a quarter? Is that once a month, twice a year?
I would say it would be quarterly at best, and it might be as frequently as twice a year, or infrequently as twice a year.
That was my understanding. That's what Colorado Springs has that kind of a timetable. I just wondered if you'd be on the same
We
timetable.
would have one big training a year where we would do live fire training, and then I would think the others would be extremely small.
And is there a significant savings for you? I assume when you visit other training facilities, you pay a fee to visit or use their facilities, or do you not pay a fee to the Air Force Academy or Colorado Springs if you use their training facility?
To use their facilities on like what I would call an in-service training basis, they normally don't charge us for that. But for recruit training, which is one of the ones I talked about, we pay as much as, and I'm not the training person, so please don't hold me to the number, but I think it's about $600 per firefighter to be able to train them over that period of time.
And how many recruits a year do you bring on board?
I would say on average it's 5. Some years it's as few as 3, and some years it could be as high as 8 to 9.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from commissioners? Sure.
The retention that you spoke of, where is that located? I don't recall seeing it.
If you can pull up that site plan again, please, Ray, I will show you. Or I will explain it to you. I can't show you, I guess. So you can kind of see you see the drive aisle that goes up to the back of where the classroom is. It is just to the right of that drive aisle. That's correct. Where all that piping is going to, it is a long linear detention pond.
That's all.
Okay. That's all.
Also,
Thank you.
apologies, Mr. Chamber. I just did want to add the date of the final drainage plan that was received and approved and accepted by the town engineer was actually a date of October 2025. And of course, it did echo your sentiments of capturing runoff from impervious surface and, in fact, capturing a large portion of existing pervious surface. So thank you. Just wanted to hit on that date for you.
Thank you. All right. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion on this application.
Were there the conditions on the motion that were drafted by staff?
I don't believe there were any conditions attached to the motions that were shown to us for either the plat or the PUD.
That's correct. There were no conditions.
Okay. Ray, would you mind putting up that slide that says recommended act? There you go. Thank you.
So, what we stage deliberation for the
Oh,
commission?
no, I'll entertain a motion at this, or if you have other comments you want to make at this point.
Well, my comment is that right now you just stated that in October 2025, we got a water assessment. Is that correct?
It is a final drainage plan.
I'm sorry.
A final drainage plan is what I'm looking at here.
So final drainage plan, and that includes stormwater and the watershed. Is that correct? Assessments?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Environmental site assessment, was that completed? By the Pringles Mountains, the wildlife inside that area, was that completed?
An environmental site assessment for those requirements was not completed.
So it was not included, but should have been completed. Is that correct?
That's not a required.
It's not a required document. Okay. That's all I got.
And to correct my record, it is a final drainage report, not plan. Thank you.
Perfect. And that was the only required document for them to have. Is that correct?
One of many attached exhibits and plans that were included and I believe listed in the town engineer approval letter. I think there was 6 or so listed.
As well as the traffic analysis letter and other space.
Within Triview, it said it will serve. Is that correct?
I don't recall if this was in the tri. I don't believe it was in the Triview. It's not. No.
No, we have received all will serve documentation for the districts that's in. This is not in Triview.
Okay. That's all I had.
Any other comments, questions? All right, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion. You have recommended motions in front of you, but go ahead if you'd like.
Donna Hatch, motion 1, on the request for approval of the Monument Fire District subdivision final plat for the property located on parcel number 711-511-8002. I move that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the Town Council, supported by the attached documents and by finding of fact as listed in the staff report.
I'll second the motion. We have a motion and a second. Ray, would you please take roll?
Thank you. Chair Egley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Commissioner Parr.
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
No.
Thank you. Motion passes 3 in favor, 1 opposed.
On the motion for the PUD, I'll entertain a motion for that.
Donna Hatch again, motion 2, on the request for approval of the rezoning from Planned Unit Development PUD to Public P for the property located on parcel number 711-511-8002. I move that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the Town Council, supported by the attached documents and by the finding of fact as listed in the staff report.
I'll second the motion. Ray, would you please take roll?
Yes. Thank you. Chair Egley.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatch.
Yes.
Commissioner Parr.
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
No.
Thank you. Motion passes 3 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next section of the meeting, and it's for any public comments that were not on the agenda tonight. If anyone would like to make any comments not related to any of the items that were presented tonight. All right, we'll move on to reports, communications, and announcements. Anything from town staff at this time?
Again, as mentioned before we got into our public hearings, I would like to set aside some time, maybe 30 to 45 minutes at our next meeting, to kind of workshop a little bit more casually some potential design guidelines and architectural standards for metal buildings being erected in our community throughout all zoning districts. I think right now we are hearing feedback from potentially your planning commission group as well as town council that there is some interest in applying some standards like that, not only in industrial zoning districts, but for these metal buildings, regardless of where they're located. So in the interim of us getting those design guidelines in code, I'd like to kind of see where our heads are at and see if we can kind of come up with some solid options to move forward to town council with for some draft language of code updates. I would plan to have options at our next meeting for us to review and discuss and speak openly about. Kind of concurrent with that discussion, in advance of that discussion, likely our first agenda item on the meeting will be another presentation from an applicant who is looking to get some solid feedback on this exact topic. They're going to be constructing a metal structure, and I would like them to have some solid feedback to apply to their project in advance of their request being acted on and potentially receiving negative feedback. So they are open to receiving any feedback we have. With that in consideration, it might be a good idea that we have that workshop in advance of the applicant presenting. And so I could communicate that timeline to them if you're open to having an opening workshop at our next meeting. How does that sound?
So you're thinking 30 to 45 minutes?
Something like that, at least to prime the conversation and see what we can do. If we need to have another meeting separately, we can do that. But I'd just really like to open the conversation and get it moving because I feel like applicants are kind of in a position to maybe not be set up for success of the desired guidelines of what town really
You see it as a kind of a workshop as a prelude to the regular meeting, maybe beginning at 5:30?
I would like that. Yes, that's a good idea.
I just have to ask some of the other commissioners from a time standpoint if that works. Okay.
Okay.
And Commissioner Trio has some other obligations. I still know 5:30 is a good time, but
Commissioner Hatch, if I may, of course you will receive the material in advance. So I would say because it's not a public hearing item, if you're reviewing those items and you have feedback, please feel free to forward that to us. Great.
is it possible, maybe for Dan as well, is it possible for us to have the workshop start at 6 and then have the regular meeting begin at 6:30?
I don't see why not.
Things out of whack in our notification, just to allow the scheduling of some of the commissioners to be here.
Neither will be public hearings. So I think that's, if anything, we can also let the applicant know that they can come a little later.
Okay.
And just to allow you to have some of that free talk.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah, I'd like to do that and lead off and just have the regular meeting at 6 p.m. and then we could lead off with the design guideline discussion and
Great.
maybe be able to offer some guidance to the applicant.
Yeah, and perhaps that applicant would like to be present during that discussion regardless and not come later. Any information gained is helpful.
Sure.
Great.
Okay.
Then I will have that on our agenda for our next meeting.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Anything else from?
Well, I'm going to just use my moment here to say that if you haven't been to Coffee with a Cop yet, you might please consider doing so, because a lot of things that we're talking about tonight also impact our police department. I think it'd be eye-opening to talk to them about cross training, working with their partners in other municipalities and other locations, and some of the challenges of that. You can also talk to them about our emergency operations planning and services that we do with Colorado Springs and again our partners throughout. I think it's important for the community to get to know their police officers, their police chief, and this is an excellent opportunity. So if you keep an eye on Facebook and on our website, you'll see when the next one is. It's very casual. Rarely do we have a ton of people there. I would love to see Planning Commission members and the public show up and talk to them and learn more about some of the work that they're doing and training and otherwise. So I think it's the first time I've ever promoted another department at a Planning Commission meeting, but I think it's a good thing to do.
If I could build that one for you, one of the main things, the reasons for me to say no is as a property owner here in Monument, as a 30-year Marine Corps veteran, as a law enforcement officer, knowing that the accessibility of those individual entities within the region are close by and in proximity, I understand the need for a facility. There's no question. But when it affects those individuals that are aging in this community and those retirement aspects that are almost buying out the community for those housing industries and for the waters and for all the other things, I'm fighting for those individuals as well. So I don't want it to ever be a part of police officer. I don't believe in you. I do 100% because I know what it takes to stand the line. But I also want to make sure that this community truly stands for what we believe in and the joy of being here. So it's a parity. We have to take care of everybody. It's not that you don't have it. It's just it's an inconvenience. Well, I think that every service member in this town and in this nation can attest to challenges. And if it affects that individual that is making ends meet and going to Tri-Lakes Cares and all the other pieces, we need to consider that and not for just the entity.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to put you on the defense.
Yeah,
That wasn't about you at all.
No, it's not defensive. I want to make sure that the public truly understands that we take care of everybody here.
And I appreciate
it's sort of one-sided when the police chief or the fire chief or anybody is in here and they think that's a shoe-in. No, it's not. Not when it's close by and in proximity. I will always stand for the community.
I appreciate the explanation. And again, that wasn't my intention. It was just
I have no problem in defending it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Great. Anything else from town staff?
No.
Okay. And any comments, announcements from the commissioners?
No, sir.
Nope. All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn. Donna Hatch.
I second.
And we are adjourned.
Thank you, sir.